So it turns out the kid with possible alcohol poisoning is okay. My friends and I decided that we're going to start a jar where we write down a bunch of things that happened to us and we put it in there, and then at the end of each year we're going to go through the jar and read it, and then the next year we're going to add to the jar. It's going to be fun. So we found this jar at Goodwill and it looks really cool, but on the top has the little peanut guy, like in the tux and with the cane. So he's on the top of the jar, which just adds to the jar. But then it was taped closed, so when we got back to campus and we opened the jar, it smelled horrible. Like, it smelled like something had crawled in there and died. So we spent like 20 minutes trying to wash it out, but we didn't do the smart way of washing it out with dish soap. We put some hand sanitizer and water in there and just kind of swished it around. It worked though. I mean, it kind of smells like hand sanitizer now, but then I sprayed perfume in it, so it smells alright. We were trying to come up with a name for the jar, and right next to where we have the jar sitting in Maddie and Courtney's room, there's the Lord of the Rings trilogy on DVD. So Maddie suggested we call it the Tolkien Jar, like Token Jar, but Tolkien Jar. I really like that idea, so I'm calling it the Tolkien Jar, but Courtney isn't really into Lord of the Rings, so she's not going to call it that. So we decided that we're each going to come up with our own name for the jar. So I took Tolkien Jar because, I mean, it's the Tolkien Jar. I'm not going to not call it a Tolkien Jar with a name like Tolkien Jar. And Maddie and Courtney are still undecided with what they're calling it. As of right now, they're just calling it the jar. Maddie occasionally calls it the Tolkien Jar. But it's going to be pretty great. We've only had it for a couple of weeks, and then we put in a bunch of stuff from fall quarter, but it's already kind of full. Like, I don't think this jar is gonna last the next 3 years. So far we have some pretty great things written in there. None of the things are really about me, they're just kind of things I was present for. So I've decided that I want to be less cautious and just do stuff. It's not a New Year's resolution because I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I don't think you need a new year to change yourself. I think you can just do it at any time. So I've resolved to be less boring. I'm kind of a boring person. Like, not really. I'm not really like a boring person. I just don't do a lot of stuff, and I would like to do things. So I think this jar is a good way to make me do things because I want to be able to write things in it about me. Hopefully we remember everything we wrote down instead of just reading a piece of paper and not understanding what we meant. Because sometimes we wrote things like, Courtney and Emma, you know, things like that. So hopefully we understand what we're talking about in a couple months' time. But I'm really excited for this Tolkien jar, mainly because it's called the Tolkien Jar, and it has a peanut guy on it, and it's a really cool looking jar.